There has been a very strong wind since early this morning. At 2 p.m. another tragedy occurred in Zdrój. There, a tree knocked down by strong winds crushed 2 women and a 7-year-old boy. The women, aged 69 and 43, and the latter 7-year-old child, died on the spot. Despite the assistance provided, unfortunately they could not be saved. Currently, the emergency services are still working at the scene, the fire department and the police. The three were walking in the park along an alley, and at some point there was a sudden, very strong gust of wind, and the tree fell and crushed them. In Zakopane, the winds are weaker, up to 75 kilometers per hour, but the windstorm is still strongly felt. Broken branches can be seen on the pavements and the streets, and broken trees in the valleys. Because of the extreme weather conditions, the Easter egg old ski equipment competition on the Kalatówki field was cancelled. Also, the authorities of the Tatra National Park advised against any outings into the Tatras today. In the valleys and lower parts of the mountains, trees are breaking, and this poses a great danger to health and life. Horse-drawn carriages to Morskie Oko are not running. A second, moderate avalanche danger level is in effect in the Tatras. In addition, Saharan dust has reached Zakopane. The village of Holoko in northern Hungary still maintains the centuries-old tradition of soaking women at Easter with buckets of cold water. The village hosts the country's major Easter festival each year, and many groups of men and women dressing up in folk costumes and getting drenched several times. The soaking of women is a tradition that stems from pagan fertility and cleansing rites and was widely practiced across Central and Eastern Europe for centuries. Today, the tradition of dousing women with buckets of cold water is usually replaced by a quick spray of perfume over women's heads. In the old days, they used to water the village with water from the well regardless of the weather, whether it was raining, snowing or the sun was shining. Many illnesses occurred because of this. Girls even got pneumonia. However, this did not tear the... So I'll do that again. In the old days, they used to water the village with water from the well regardless of the weather, whether it was raining, snowing or the sun was shining. Many illnesses occurred because of this. Girls even got pneumonia. However, this did not deter the boys. For them, the most important thing was to ensure the girls did not wither. But in Holoko, cold water continues to be the tradition. Getting soaked is a matter of pride for traditional women at Easter, as it signifies they have many male visitors, said villager Zofia Kellerman. For those who grew up with the tradition, it wasn't about ice-cold water. Rather, it was about the men paying their respects to the households with women as they circled the village. Where they were young girls, they would be soaked, and good wishes bestowed upon them. The belief was that those who were soaked would never wither away. I recall from my childhood that it was a cherished memory. We counted how many men visit each of us, and we prepared for their arrival by painting eggs. To be honest, my primary motivation is the palinka. It's my best answer. I enjoy the palinka, and in return the girls give it to me. What more could one wish for? Thousands of visitors attend each year, also receiving their share of water sprinkling in the streets of the UNESCO World Heritage List village. Easter is behind us, and Easter is hard to imagine without the blessing of the traditional Easter basket. As usual, bread, eggs, ham, kielbasa. The contents of the basket for years unchanged. However, the individual items in it are changing. As with everything, every year prices are increasing, and as a result, the Easter basket is getting more and more expensive. And from today, it will be even more expensive. Donald Tusk's government has decided to restore the 5% value-added tax rate on food. Because of the fact that VAT will go up, inflation will go up, and we as consumers will feel it in the months to come. Now, it may seem like a good thing for the government, but in a few months it will turn out to have been a big flop. Meat, fruit, baked goods, eggs, nuts or oils, among others, are to become more expensive. All the basic food products we buy every day. Octopuses were not on the list of increases. We'll see what happens from the 1st of April. I, for one, can't imagine it. How to support a family of 4? How much should one earn? For the average Polish family, the reinstatement of the tax means an additional cost of about 120 zloty per month. Who will suffer the most from the increases? Households, the poorer ones. Actually, there are millions of households because their average incomes are very low. In addition, many of these households are burdened with mortgages and interest rates are very high. Nothing given will be taken back. These words were repeated like a mantra by Civic Coalition politicians during the election campaign. After little more than 100 days of Donald Tusk's government, there is little left of these pre-election promises. This is a dishonest action because the announcements in the election campaign were different. I am surprised by the attitudes of the leftist circles, who supposedly have caring for poorer people on their banners, and it all looks as if voters are simply unimportant. Leftist circles apparently have other priorities in the government. According to a decree signed by Education Minister Barbara Nowacka, starting on the 1st of April, teachers will not be allowed to give written homework to children in the first 3 grades of elementary school. In turn, the work done by students in the older grades will not be assessed. According to Professor Alexander Nalaskovsky, this decision has had lamentable consequences for future generations. What Nowacka is fighting against is a fight against the future of these young people, against finding their way in the world of new technologies, new ideas, new currents and so on. And this is done independently, and this is what homework is for. Liberals raising taxes, school without homework and fuel at nearly 7 zloty per litre. This is not a bad April's Fool's Day joke. This is the new reality we're facing since the 1st of April. Maciej Strug, Telewizja Republika. The results of Sunday's municipal elections in Turkey give the Republican People's Party first place. The largest opposition party won 37% of the vote. President Recep Erdogan's Justice and Development Party came in second, winning 35% of the vote. The local elections are not our end, they are a turning point. The vote proved the maturity of Turkish democracy. The will of the people will be respected. We in our party will analyse election results with openness and boldly express self-criticism. The election results show that we are losing in local governments across the country. Of course, we will discuss the reasons for this decline. Our success will not only affect the local community, it is a matter of changing the mentality in our country, in our history. The victory came very late, but let's say that we are thankful for it too. After all, we had a very unsuccessful government for 22 years, and I think people have now found the right path. Erdogan's speech showed his great fatigue. It was like the beginning of the great end. It was as if he had accepted it. Istanbul is a metropolis with about 20% of the country's population. The election result largely reflects the opinion of the people and the development of political direction in Turkey. The results of the local elections will certainly have an impact on Turkey's political agenda, as they reflect the will of the voters.
Wybory lokalne są bardzo dużą porażką Erdoğana, dlatego że jest po pierwsze są wielkim zaskoczeniem, po drugie po raz
The local elections are a very big defeat for Erdogan, for the reason that, first of all, they are a big surprise, and secondly, this is the first time since the Justice and Development Party came to power in 2002 that it has lost an election at all. It was won by the CHP, or Republican People's Party, which hasn't really been in power since 1977. And what's interesting is that it won all the 5 big cities, namely Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, Adana and Bursa. This is so important because the big cities are connected to big financing, to big money, so they are needed to govern. And the victory of Ekrem İmamoğlu, who was vying for re-election as mayor of Istanbul, is so important that, first of all, the polls did not give a sure win at all. These polls fluctuated between him and the AKP. The difference was small, within the limits of statistical error. So it was not known until the end whether he would win, and he won it by a significant difference, which has now led to him being touted as a potential opponent of President Erdogan in future presidential parliamentary elections.
Przeciwnik prezydenta Erdoğana w przyszłych wyborach prezydenckich parlamentarnych.
The hills of Glendale in Los Angeles are home to a masterpiece by Jan Stika. The painting arrived in the United States in 1904 for an international exhibition in St. Louis, Missouri. It never returned to Poland and has been in the building you see behind me since 1951. The painting was unveiled in 1897 in Warsaw and enjoyed great success in Europe. The painter hoped that the exhibition would allow him to promote the work in the United States. However, it turned out that there was no place in Missouri to exhibit a painting of such gigantic size. The artist was unable to recover his painting. Seized by United States Customs, he died in 1935 and his work was considered lost. The painting was unveiled in 1897 in Warsaw and enjoyed great success in Europe. The painter hoped that the exhibition would allow him to promote the work in the United States. However, it turned out that there was no place in Missouri to exhibit a painting of such a gigantic size. The artist was unable to recover his painting. He died in 1935 and the painting was seized by US Customs, and his work was considered lost. The painting was not found until 1944 in Chicago. It was purchased by an American scientist and businessman, Dr. Hubert Eaton, who decided that a canvas of such gigantic size as 60 meters wide and 15 meters high deserved a proper display. This is how the edifice built in Forest Lawn Cemetery came to be. Adam Steker, Jan's son, was hired to restore the painting which had deteriorated, lying in storage for more than 40 years. Jan Steker's 19th century canvas illustrating the crucifixion of Christ is displayed in the audio-visual room next to the painting Resurrection, painted by American painter Robert Clark in 1965. There is also a display case with historical exhibits reminiscent of Polish history. A portrait of Ignacy Jan Penderewski is also housed there. The edifice was renovated last year. Viewers are sure to be surprised by the much larger seating capacity and a new program featuring more biographical information about Steker.
Z Los Angeles.
From Los
dla
Angeles for
Telewizji
TV
Republika,
Republica, Małgorzata Schulz.